One of the indicators of consumer demand is ocean freight orders, which reflect how much goods are being shipped across the world. In recent months, ocean freight orders have dropped significantly, signaling a big drop in consumer demand for products like apparel and electronics. According to CNBC, logistics managers have reported a 20% drop in ocean freight orders for the months of September and October. This decline in demand cuts across many products, including machinery, housing, industrial and some apparel. The reason for this drop is a combination of too much inventory coupled with a lack of clarity on consumer demand. Many retailers and manufacturers have overstocked their products in anticipation of a strong recovery from the pandemic, but they have faced lower than expected sales due to factors such as inflation, supply chain disruptions, labor shortages and changing consumer preferences. For example, Nike announced last week that its inventory was much higher than expected due to lower demand for its shoes and apparel. As a result of this drop in ocean freight orders, ocean carriers have reduced their vessel capacity to match the demand and to prevent further decline in prices. In a note to clients, HSL Logistics said its vessel cuts were by nearly 50% and that the pullback in vessel capacity may continue into 2023 until demands pick up before Chinese New Year, which is in late January. The impact of this drop in ocean freight orders can be seen in the freight rates and the vessel congestion. Freight rates for the Asia-US West Coast route fell 8% to $2,978 per 40 equivalent units, FEU, an 82% low than the same time last year. Freight rates for the Asia-US East Coast route decreased 5% to $6,952 per FEU, and are 63% lower than the rates for this week last year. The vessel congestion on the East Coast continues and the impact of Hurricane Ian will delay the clearing out of vessel congestion. The drop in ocean freight orders is a sign that consumer demand for products like apparel and electronics has declined due to various factors. This has implications for the global economy and the supply chain. Ocean shipping is a vital link in the global trade and any changes in its dynamics can affect many industries and markets. Global trade has been hit hard by the pandemic and its aftermath. The value of trade in goods and services reached a record $32 trillion in 2022, but this was mainly driven by higher prices, especially for energy. The volume of trade, which measures the quantity of goods and services exchanged, grew much slower and started to decline in the second half of the year. This reflects a slowdown in global economic activity and a shift in consumer and business spending from goods to services as lockdowns eased and vaccination rates increased. One of the main factors behind the trade slowdown is inflation. Inflation has reached a 40-year high in some economies, eroding the purchasing power of consumers and businesses. Higher inflation also means higher interest rates, which make borrowing more expensive and reduce investment and consumption. Inflation is caused by various factors, such as supply chain disruptions, labor shortages, rising energy costs, and excess demand. Another factor is uncertainty. The world is facing many geopolitical risks, such as the war in Ukraine, the tensions between China and Taiwan, and the nuclear ambitions of Iran and North Korea. These risks create instability and fear in the global markets, affecting trade flows and confidence. Moreover, the pandemic is not over yet. New variants of the virus pose a threat to public health and economic recovery. Vaccine inequality and hesitancy also hamper the global fight against COVID. The outlook for global trade in 2023 is not very optimistic. The IMF forecasts that global growth will slow down from 6% in 2021 to 3.2% in 2022 and 2.7% in this is the weakest growth profile since 2001 except for the global financial crisis and the acute phase of the pandemic. Global inflation is expected to remain high at 8.8% in 2022 and 6.5% in trade will also be affected by structural changes, such as the evolution of global supply chains and the transition to a greener economy. To conclude, global trade volumes have slowed down and plateaued as a result of rising inflation, cost of living, and pandemic uncertainties. These factors have reduced the demand for goods and services across the world and created challenges for trade policy and cooperation. The future of globalization depends on how well policymakers can address these issues and restore confidence and stability in the global economy.